Have you ever been in a spot where you had to teach someone something and you had to do it like right now? Maybe you're training a new person at work, showing a friend a new skill, or heck, even facing a formal test. The pressure is definitely on to be clear, quick, and, actually effective. So that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth do you cram a whole lesson into a tiny 15-minute window without just, well, losing all the important stuff? Today, we're going to break down a blueprint that does exactly that. So let's dive in and see how it's done. So we're going to frame this whole thing around a pretty high-stakes scenario, the micro-teach. This is a super common thing in teacher training where you literally have to prove you can teach, but in an incredibly short amount of time. It's kind of the ultimate stress test for any teaching method. So, what are these assessors actually looking for? Well, it pretty much boils down to these key things: a super clear objective, a good mix of showing and doing, asking smart questions, and using language that makes everyone feel included. And listen, these aren't just fancy buzzwords for an exam, they're the fundamental ingredients of any great lesson, whether it's 15 minutes or a full hour. Okay, to make this all feel real, we're going to use a simple, totally universal example: making a paper airplane. Now, here's the key thing to remember. We're not really learning how to make a paper plane today. The plane, that's just the vehicle. The real lesson here is the method, the blueprint itself. And here it is. This is the secret sauce. A simple, really elegant 5-part structure. You've got your introduction, a starter activity, the main teaching part, an assessment, and then you wrap it up with a summary. This is our roadmap for the next few minutes. We're going to pull apart each piece and see exactly how it works. All right, let's start at the top. You've only got 15 minutes total, and believe me, those first 5 are absolutely critical. This is where you set the stage, and you have to grab your learner's attention right away. This right here, this is a perfect lesson objective. Just notice that verb, create. It's specific, it's measurable, your learners know exactly what they'll be able to do by the end. There's no guesswork. So the main takeaway is always start with a clear, action-oriented goal. Okay, objective is set. Next up, the starter activity. You kick things off with a dead simple question like this one. Just think about it for a second. Why this specific question? What's it really doing? So what's so great about it? Well, that simple question is way more powerful than it looks. It's not just small talk. In one move, you're checking for prior knowledge, you're instantly engaging everyone in the room, and you're sparking interaction from the absolute get-go. It's a brilliant, super efficient teaching move. All right, we have officially set the stage. Now we get to the heart of the lesson, the actual art of instruction. This is where we have to carefully blend showing the skill with letting the learners actually get their hands dirty and do it themselves. So here are the nuts and bolts for the plane. Fold it in half, fold the corners in, fold the edges again, fold the whole thing in half, and then fold the wings down. You get it. The steps themselves are pretty simple. But just remember, it's not what you're teaching, it's how you're teaching it that really counts. And this is such a great example of what makes instruction truly great. You don't just rattle off the steps. You have to emphasize the little details that make all the difference, the why behind the what. Telling someone to focus on sharp creases and perfect symmetry, well, that's what makes a plane that actually flies versus one that just nosedives. Now, just listen to that sentence. It sounds so simple, right? But it's actually incredibly powerful. What is it doing? It's giving people permission to learn in the way that feels best for them. This is a perfect textbook example of inclusive language. And that leads us right to this key idea: inclusive practice. It is all about creating an environment where every single person feels comfortable and able to jump in. That one simple sentence we just saw, it does exactly that. It takes the pressure off and empowers the learner. Okay, but what about the people who are super quick and they're done in like 2 minutes? You can't just let them sit there and get bored. So you give them an extension task, like this one. It's a little extra challenge that keeps them totally engaged. This cool technique is called differentiation. It's basically how you custom fit the lesson for different skill levels, all in the same room. By offering a simple extra challenge, you're pushing the advanced learners without leaving everybody else in the dust. It's a really elegant fix for a super common teaching problem. Awesome. So you've taught the skill. Everyone's made a plane, but did they actually learn anything? Did it stick? This brings us to the final and maybe most important phase: locking in that learning with some smart assessment and a really powerful summary. A huge tool for assessment is asking questions, but here's the catch. Not all questions are created equal.
You've got your closed questions, like how many folds did we make? That just checks a fact. Then you've got open questions, like what would happen if the wings were uneven, which checks if they actually understand the principle behind it.
So the takeaway here is crucial. You need both. You want to use closed questions for a quick temperature check on knowledge, and then use those open questions to really dig in and see if they have that deeper conceptual understanding. A good mix gives you the full picture of what your learners actually took away. And finally, the summary. And just look at this. You only need 1 minute. That's it. A powerful conclusion doesn't have to be long-winded. It just needs to be incredibly focused. So what do you pack into that perfect 1-minute summary? It's just 3 simple things. First, you circle back to your original objective. Show them that they did it. Second, check their confidence. Ask if they feel ready to do it on their own. And third, you hit them with the single most important message you want them to remember. And there it is. That's the final key message for our paper plane lesson. It's short, it's memorable, and it boils down everything they just learned into one single core idea. This is the sentence they'll remember long after the lesson is over. So there you have it, a 5-part blueprint that you can pretty much use to teach almost any practical skill in just 15 minutes. Sure, it works for a paper plane, but just think about it for a second. What could you teach with this method? Tying a specific knot? Using a new software feature? The possibilities are, quite literally, endless.